Hello.
Hello.
We're sat here with our co-pilot, Sleaford. Anyway, it's raining outside across us way.
It's raining. It's rained all day.
Yeah, and yesterday.
Loads.
And a bit the day before and tomorrow. So, no snow, but, 27th of December, there's still a chance. So, a few days ago, we went and rode at Limestone Hill.
Again.
Limestone Hill is the Canadian cement factory, not country, which was abandoned in 1969, 1970, and is now under some forestry division of Ontario. And I don't know if they did stuff with it in the past, but they've not done much with it recently. And there's been some trail building in the past, but sadly it's fallen into a little bit of disrepair. But
nature has taken over.
It has. Like, you have these concrete structures and you can see where trees and bushes and things have just grown through the concrete and, left to its own devices. That's what happens. We could be wiped off the face of the earth by nature within 100 years, which makes me feel good, actually. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, we think we're so powerful, but I would say nature would be the winner of that battle.
Indeed.
That being said,
it takes a while.
We can also be pretty destructive.
We are.
But I think in a battle, who would win, nature versus man? My money's on Mother Nature.
I think so. I mean, she'd just wipe us out with a typhoon or something. But, so they quarried limestone and there as well. So there's a number of, lakes or ponds or... What do you call a small lake?
Pond?
They're a bit bigger than a pond, but they're not really a lake when you have Lake Erie and Lake Ontario.
Small lake, then?
Yeah, they're a lagoon. Sounds more glamorous than it is.
No, actually, a lagoon's kind of gross and creepy, at least in my mind, and that's a little bit how it is.
So they have these number of lakes there, which is where they extracted rock, and some of them are full of old machinery, and if you stand on the edge for a minute and look in, you can see kind of axles and tyres and wheels. But reeds are growing and birds are there, and
bit of a graveyard.
Blue jays are hanging out and cardinals, and so it's actually quite a good spot for nature, which I guess that's one of the reasons we were there, because we were looking for mushrooms. We didn't find any, but Jessica did find a few other things which we can talk about.
I love this place. I just think it has such a cool factor of, and maybe it is the transformation of seeing its abandonedness and how Mother Nature is taking it back, as you would say.
It's definitely a bit ghetto.
It's very ghetto, and it just makes me wonder what went on there in the past.
Well, I guess cement.
Or still does, actually. Yeah,
there's a railway line down one side. There's some new house building down the other, and then there's Port Colborne, I guess, on the other part, and then there's Retirement City on the other kind of square if you divide it up into a square. And I bumped into a few people walking their dogs. They were fine. We both rode round there, didn't see anybody.
You know what I think that it reminds me of? I think that it would be a great place to go and have a campfire at night and tell ghost stories. I think you could get properly freaked out.
I think you could. There's definitely enough creepy buildings and girders and things.
It's a bit ghost-like.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's the ghost woods. the ghost quarry.
Yeah, that, when I was riding up there on my own the other day, I was riding past the propane tankers and they were ticking, and I was thinking, is that tick, tick, boom?
Is that a Hive song?
Yeah, maybe. But, we rode up there together and we didn't really see anybody, apart from a couple of people walking a dog and some guy having a rest. And then we bumped into some kids on the way out that were going in on... What day was that? Christmas Day, wasn't it?
I believe so.
So they were going in on Christmas Day afternoon to just ride their bikes around. And then I bumped into them again the day after, because I went up the day after in the rain, and they were chatting to me a bit, and they were saying that they ride this time of year because in the summer there's lots of parties, and I guess there's people camped out in tents, and none of that bothers me, to be honest. I think everybody should be able to use a space, but the lads were saying that they feel quite intimidated and get chased off and shouted at, and all they want to do is use the dirt jumps that are there. It just seems a little bit unfair to me and unnecessary. At the end of the day, everybody complains that kids haven't got anything to do and they sit on sofas and play computer games and all the other things, and actually there's a real spot and 3 teenagers that want to go and do stuff and then they're too scared to do it. It just seems a bit nuts to my brain.
Well, it does, and particularly when you run into other people who are, clearly very discouraging, or adults. This is going out of their way to discourage you from riding there. And I think you were even saying about some bridges being taken down.
Yeah, I rode on one of the number of old trails that are in there, and the trails are on trail forks, and one of the trails kind of goes through the woods, which we did, and we turned left, but if you kind of go straight on, it skirts some gardens of some new houses, and I kind of came to the end and thought, I'll turn around and go back, and some guy started running across his lawn shouting at me for trespassing and saying he was going to call the police, and I pointed out the error of his ways. And what's happening is that a lot of the people that have houses there are trying to kind of claim the land up to the lake, and then they don't want people walking around there or riding around there, so then they've basically taken out all the boardwalks and kind of destroyed them, so you'd have to get wet feet basically, or they're just too sketchy to ride because they've sort of set fire to bits of them. And it's just such a shame that someone put a lot of effort into building some pretty cool trails, and now, they've all been kind of wrecked. Even that flooded area we walked, where you walked, it's like somebody's even taken all those out, so you can't.
Yeah, there was more bridges last time.
Yeah, it's a bit nuts, really. I mean, I do understand, but it's the small-minded, short-sighted, not in my backyard approach, and then when those same kids start breaking into your garage and throwing bricks through your window, you start complaining, saying, well, why haven't they got anything else to do? And it's like, because you took all their trails away, and that's why.
And that's the long-winded point that we're trying to get at right there, is just that. Yeah,
and I'm not one to just complain about it and do nothing about it, so I have contacted a few of the kind of local organisations to see if anybody's up for doing a bit of trail building and seeing if we can maybe reclaim it. But Jessica and I have got another project starting in April, and if we get some willing trail builders from that, I might bring them in, and we might reinstate some of these trails. Even if it takes 10 goes and they keep getting destroyed, I'll keep rebuilding them.
Well, or who even knows what the next conversation with those 3 young lads will be.
This is true.
And
also this place, as Jessica was saying about it being a bit kind of a weird is not...
Haunted, that's the word.
One of the areas I found when I was exploring a bit was it's some old workshops or something, but there's basically a 1 foot and 2 foot step down, so next time we go, that's definitely something, that little line that needs a bit of opening up, I think.
There's lots of just cool old junk around that could be turned into some sweet little features.
Yeah, and lots of stone.
So much
I found one little area where there's all these boulders in the, just in the trees, and boulders that would take 2 people to lift, and some boulders that would take machinery to move. You could build step downs and step ups and all the stuff that, mountain bikers really want. It would, and even though there's not a lot of elevation in there, it would be a great place to practice,
Definitely.
And nobody bothers you. I don't think anybody cares what you do in there, until they build houses on it. But they've not started that yet. So
just a great little sweet inner city bush pocket of rocks and woods.
Yeah,
and a lagoon.
Yeah, and a good place to learn skills. It's like it's got enough sketchiness that it's a good place if you're a bit new, or ride around there twice a week for a couple of months, and suddenly when you turn up at the local woods and you've got routes and drop-offs, you'll be like, oh, this is fine,
I would not disagree with that.
Yeah, so... And then you had a little bit of success in your, riding you did fine. I mean, we're still working our way through your rehabilitation, and by now we thought we'd be on fat bikes, but we're not. We're still riding normal mountain bikes, which is kind of excellent. But you had a good...
I did have a great ride on Christmas Day.
You did.
We even caught some sunshine, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, we did actually. It was like 12 degrees.
Yeah, summer. Yeah, I had a little bit of success on the wild edible front, though. There was a number of berries that I was not successful at identifying, but there was, more research to be done. I'm not giving up just yet. However, one success was that I have finally found some barberries. Or burberries? I'm not sure the correct pronunciation.
No, I'm not sure either. I mean, Burberry's that fancy checkered clothing brand, isn't it?
You're asking the wrong lady.
I wondered if Burberry was named after the Burberry berry. I don't know anyway. There's no help whatsoever.
Well, I know it from, or recognize it from Middle Eastern cuisine and cookbooks that I flipped through. And I think way back when I had even purchased some dried ones, like probably 15 years ago. So here I am, that many years later, stumbling across them and successfully identifying them. So this type of Burberry or barberry are the Japanese variety. And how do I know that is because they are a smaller deciduous shrub, probably only about 2 to 3 feet tall.
Right.
And the Japanese barberry also does not grow in a cluster. It grows singly. So this is an edible red berry, and it's oblong shaped, and it's bright red. And the leaves are kind of, I would say, roughly oval, and the edges have a quite fine serrated edge. You definitely would want to be careful when picking or harvesting these little beauties. They have, at the base of the leaves, they have this 3-pronged thorny spike, and you can definitely harm yourself on that. Luckily, the berries are dangling below, but definitely look out for your clothing.
Yeah.
And don't wipe out in a bush. Don't get right in there. So in the springtime, you can see very, very cute little pale yellow flowers. And I believe the berries come and are green throughout the summer, and then come autumn, the fruit starts to change red. And what's awesome about these is, we are now almost approaching January. These little beauties hang on through most of the winter, so can be harvested, January, December, February.
And I guess depending on how hard the winter is, depends on whether the birds go for them, and then...
Well, the birds will definitely go for them.
They're around.
And it's an invasive plant, so you can pick as many as you like.
And I just wanted to say, you've also been working on trying to identify, is it laburnum?
Oh, the viburnum.
Sorry, not laburnum, viburnum.
Correct.
And I'm only bringing that up because I know you've spent, there's lots of different types and species and 1 or 2 are edible, but a lot are not. Is that right?
I don't know just yet. I haven't retained all the information.
Seems like a lot of information because we've had
There's
few
a lot
goes
of information about all of these wild things.
We've had a few goes at trying to identify which ones are edible and which ones aren't. And
there's one that I keep seeing quite a lot, quite an abundance of around here, and again, great for a winter forage. And I'm not certain what it is just yet, so stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll come back on that. I just wanted to kind of acknowledge the amount of work that goes into some of this.
Yep. Quite a bit of reading, but even for a gal who never has enjoyed reading, I've always found it to be a task. If it's something you're interested in, then it ain't so bad.
And then we also found a good number of rosehip bushes.
We did. Quite a few easy to pick bushes. They're pretty common, but sometimes you don't see them at all, and then sometimes they're plentiful.
There was I don't know if it was made on one of our podcasts, but there was another forager that Jessica read some information from who said, "Oh, you simply squeeze the rosehip and swallow the juices or whatever." And when we picked the first lot, they were rock hard, and you couldn't really squeeze them without like dislocating your thumb or something. But when we picked them the other day, it was like, oh, now I get what he's talking about. It's a bit like a smoothie hanging on a tree.
Yeah. But then I also did learn that the little hairs in there you really do not want to consume, so I don't know what that person was talking about.
No, and the little hairs, when I was a kid, we'd wait for them. So when they sun dry, so they go beyond the state they're in now, we used to break them up into like a handful of them and put them down each other's shirts on our way to school. Because it was like itching powder.
Exactly.
Like kids.
Well, you just shared that one with everyone.
So, but you got to get it right, otherwise you just have a red squidgy mess. So.
Yeah, and they do make a bit of a red squidgy mess. But I'll share one of the ways that I have been very simply enjoying them is that I did post a recipe. I did make a proper syrup out of them that I was adding to my sody pop.
Yeah, that was pretty good actually.
I do like the bubbly water, and I'm always adding a little this or that to make it a bit more interesting. But I don't particularly like sweet things or juice, so I do like to take a dose of apple cider vinegar on the daily, and this was so lovely infused into my raw cider vinegar. I just put a few slits or punctured some holes in a few of the rosehips and put them in a small jar and covered them with cider vinegar and gave it a little shake, and even after I would say 2 days you could taste a subtle pleasant flavor, so it just spruced things up for me a little bit, and it's a very good dose of vitamin C, so this time of year.
You can have another go at doing those. So.
I think so. We collected a nice little bag.
Yeah, we did. And then and you could do this if you rode at Limestone Hill, we then cruised down a very short distance, like 10 minutes, maybe not even. In fact, it was something like 6 minutes actually. But down to Lake Erie, we parked at one of the parking spots there.
Near another quarry.
Yeah,
the Gord Harry Trail.
12 degrees
Harry
and sunny.
Gord.
Yeah, Harry Gord.
I'll never get that right.
12 degrees and sunny, and it was definitely like a day in April, wasn't it? Like, it was almost, you didn't need a coat. I mean, it was,
On Christmas Day,
yeah,
we were at the beach watching the sunset, and hardly even wearing a coat.
Yeah, it was interesting. But if you ride at Limestone Hill and you want somewhere to go and eat your sandwiches or something, cruise down to Lake Erie, and we parked and went for a stroll. But we also found some enoki mushrooms.
We did, the velvet foots.
Yeah. Yeah, Velvet Foots. I need to get the naming right. Now we've
That's
progressed
all right.
with our knowledge.
That's correct, though. They are, I think, anyways, in my books, anyways, I will call that correct, as they are part of the family of it's the cultivated variety, even though they look nothing like.
Yeah.
To my knowledge. Again, don't believe every word that I say.
But we found another little mushroom spot, we think, along the side of Lake Erie there, so we'll be keeping an eye out to see what we see there. The only thing I would say is if you think you're going to go there and get the mother lode, you might get the mother lode, but they're probably going to be covered in gritty sand. So.
Yes, I spent a lot of time cleaning those Velvet Foots, and they're sticky on top of that, and woo-wee.
Yeah.
I really tried, and it was still a bit gritty, but that was our dinner tonight, and I was quite pleased with what I came up with, which I am hard to please in the kitchen.
It was an excellent taste, I would say. I think you did exceptionally well.
And that recipe will be coming soon.
The only thing is
to a website near you.
Better get on that website and look at those recipes, because, dinner gets cold when these pictures are being taken. We need some payback for this. So this was just this was just a short one, really, just to revisit Limestone Hill, because we covered it before, but we were back again. We're going to be back there quite a bit. We might give you the odd update on what's happening if we do actually get any progress with the trail building there.
I just love it there. I find it a really interesting, just cool place.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's not our average bush ride.
No, but it does show what you could do with somewhere, bit of industry that's moved out, and then, give it over to the trail riders, and even side-by-sides and motorcycles. Like, if it's built properly and shared properly, it's all fine,
Yep.
So, get everybody in there. Just make it so that all the kids can go and hang out. That's all.
Sharing is caring.
So, on that note...
Get lost!